First comes to mind Srila Prabhupada once saying in his Vyas Puja address, offering to Srila Saraswati Thakur, when he said, when we speak of the fundamental principle of Gurudev, we speak of something that is of universal application. He said, thus there does not arise any discriminating my guru from your guru or his guru. He said, but there is one guru who appears to us in an infinity of forms to teach you and me and all others. They said the fundamental principle of Gurudev. One who's appearing in an infinity of forms. So, were it not Srila Prabhupada, Srila Swami Maharaj saying this, it might sound like Mayavad. It sounds a little peculiar, considering all the things he said to the contrary. But it's very important what he's described there. So he said the fundamental principle of Gurudev, what we sometimes call Guru Tattva. So he said one Guru appearing in an infinity of forms to teach you and me and all others. So sometimes also, Srila Guru Maharaj said there are certain things that are repeatedly mystifying when we try to understand them. Guru Tattva, 1. Jiva Tattva, Shiva Tattva, Dham Tattva, Nam Tattva. Sometimes you get some glimpse by the grace of Sadhu, Shastra, Guru, Vaishnav, a momentary, a moment of clarity, and then other times it's mystifying. But to be mystified when approaching divinity is a good thing. Sometimes we think we want to eliminate that. We want to eliminate all the mystery. We want a black and white, we want it to be this way and not that way. But Srila Guru Maharaj is almost consistently reminding us that the sweet will of Krishna, how he will reveal himself, that's up to him. So the devotees aren't pressing. We notice if we study the pastimes of Krishna, something happens, something extraordinary, something miraculous. And we don't hear, I haven't read of sections where devotees go like, how'd you do that? That was pretty amazing. You know, they're not interrogating Krishna. Sometimes it's interesting, I mean, just to flesh this out, that the cowherd men, they will have discussions. When Krishna swallowed the forest fire, that was, what do you think about that? Vishwanath Chakrabarti, he'll say things like, because Krishna is the source of everything, and he employs his Leela Shakti and different energies. He turned the fire into some sort of nectarine beverage, and he can give all kinds of marvelous interpretations of things. But my point is that the devotees are comfortable with Krishna's mystic power, I would say, with his mystic power. So sometimes we hear the expression Achintya Shakti, that coming from Srila Jiva Goswami, if we are to humbly approach Krishna conception, one of the first principles that we'll have to embrace is Achintya Shakti, inconceivable potency, and another being Achintya Beda Bed, which means inconceivably simultaneously one and different. As I've said, I think this concept has some appeal in Thailand because they have this expression, same, but different. Right? It's a very sweet and succinct saying, and there's something there. Same, but different. So when it comes, and that's a Chintya Beda Bed, inconceivably, simultaneously, one and different. And we find this also in the Das Mool of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, saying the jivas, they're like Krishna and something different. It's also mentioned in that sloka. Jive Swarupai Krishnera Nityanas, Krishnera Tasta Shakti, Beda Bed Prakash, like and something different. So we speak of the Guru principle or Guru Tattva in all of its manifestations. So Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur and the, in one sense, one of the premier Guru song, the Gurvastakam, sung by all devotees every day. Sakshad Hari Tena Samasta Shastre Uktastatha Bhavyateva Sadbhi Kintu Prabhoya Priya Eva Tasya Bande Guru Sri Charanarvindam. So we're told that our beginning conception, Sakshad Hari, directly Krishna. Krishna is the focal point. Right? Like when you have in photography, focus, and you have depth of field, other things. So there's also a type of depth of field called infinity. So here we're told, and Guru Maharaj is given a perfect example, and he says, just as when we talk of the Himalayas, the Everest is the supreme peak, right? And so he said, you'll see that from, in one sense, making your approach from the greatest distance, you see Everest. So focused on Everest, with Everest as your goal, you make your approach. But the proof positive that you're coming nearer to Everest, that you're going in the right direction, is you will come in connection with so many subordinate peaks which are surrounding Everest. That you're coming in their connection means you're going in the right direction towards Everest. The parallel being that Vasudev Sarvamiti, Guru Maharaj identifies as the first conception of Krishna, of the upper world, of the spiritual domain, but there's not accompanied by his potency. Bhagavan in earnest means Lakshmi Narayan, Sita Ram, Rukmini and Dwarkadish, and Krishna and Mathura, Vrindavan Hoite Shrestha Govardhana Shaila, Gandharvika Giridhari Jata Krida Koila, and like that. And Swayam Bhagavan, Krishna, at the right hand of Radharani. Everest, by parallel, representing Krishna, and going nearer, coming in connection with those surrounding Everest. So, Krishna conception, Sakshad Hari Tena Samasta Shastrai. But then this interesting shift takes place. Kintu Prabhoya Priya Evatasya Bande Guru Sri Charanarvindam, which Guru Maharaj renders as Prabhu Priya. It's saying, but upon a closer examination of Guru Tattva, the Guru principle, the Guru conception, Guru, we'll see a shift takes place from Krishna to his potency. Prabhu Priya, the one who is most dear to Krishna. So, the first other than Krishna is Baladev. When you think about this, this is very interesting, because if you really get other than Krishna, you go to Maya, right? The extremes of other than Krishna, right? Anti-Krishna. Right? But the first other than Krishna is Baladev. He's almost identical to Krishna. Right? It's a very wonderful and peculiar and charming reality. Sometimes we hear the Rupa Goswami analysis of 50 qualities Jiva, 55 executive class Jiva, Shiva, 60 qualities Narayan, 64 qualities Krishna. Sometimes Srila Guru Maharaj will say, and Balaram has 62. And sometimes he will say, that Krishna of Mathura is, same, but different than Balaram of Vrindavan. So Balaram's position, he's the first other than Krishna. That means he can also oppose Krishna sometimes, but in a sweet way. Right? Sometimes Guru Maharaj would tell that story of when Krishna and perhaps Uddhava and others, they're sitting and wondering in some particular situation how to employ diplomacy. And Baladev's sitting there with his club hearing this talk, going back and forth, and he's saying, "What's all the talk? With my club, I solved this matter in a moment. No need for discussion." Like, what's all the talk about? Like, I can solve this matter. So, and sometimes we hear in their childhood play, sometimes he slaps Krishna, and Krishna's running to Mother Yasoda, and then Mother Yasoda is chastising Baladev, and Baladev is calling Krishna aside and saying, "Dear brother," one of Krishna's names is Ramanuja, means the little brother of Balaram. And Balaram is playing, you have to understand, I have so much love and affection for you. And sometimes in our play, something may happen. You don't have to always tell Mother Yasoda that. It's not necessary. Like, where does that come from? I remember once, when I was a child, I have 2 elder brothers, and that means I'm smaller than them, lighter than them, and they're 5 years and 8 years older than me. And so they could do things with me, like on a swing from a tree, they could make me go really high. Right? So they put me in, and I just have absolute faith and trust in them. So they're throwing me. I've never been that high in my life. I'm on some giant tree. And then I come down and my head goes, the head goes right into the trunk of the tree. I fall on the ground. I'm practically unconscious. But the first thing I can see is my 2 brothers. I look at their faces and they're saying, "Don't tell Mom." They're not going, "Are you okay?" Or, they're going, "Don't tell Mom. Can you hear us? Don't tell Mom." So even "don't tell Mom" comes Janmadyasya Yataha, from the original, from Goloka Vrindavan is where "don't tell Mom" comes from. Pastimes of Krishna Balaram. So So Baladev, but he does have unlimited love and affection for Krishna. So even though he's the first other than Krishna, what is even more interesting is that he's in love with Krishna. He's not a competitor. He's so in love with Krishna, he wants to serve him in every possible capacity. So, like we hear, before Krishna appeared in the womb of Devaki, Balaram appeared. He was later transferred to Rohini. But Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur mentions there that it's perfect that way. Baladev appears, and before he leaves, his expansion of Ananta Dev, and we can say Ananta means unlimited serving potential and capacity and realization of that. So Anantadev makes the Sringasan, makes the womb of Devaki just perfect for Krishna to come. We won't think of it in conventional womb-like imagery, but Anantadev remains behind. So when Krishna appears, there's Sringasan throne, so much paraphernalia. So Ananta has unlimited serving capacity. He becomes the throne, the floor, the sacred thread, the cloth, so many things. And according to Srila Guru Maharaj, together with Yogamaya, they script and cast Krishna Lila. So, as the first other than Krishna, and it says Ekala Ishwara Krishna Arsabhritya, that he is Krishna alone is Ishwar. In the sense, Ishwar is really the word for God. We say controller, that's all true, but really it's synonymous with it's like God, means God, the generic God term. And then when you combine it with other things, it gets a little more specific. But Ekala Ishwara Krishna are Sabhritya. All others are servitors. So Baladev is the supreme servitor, the Prabhu Priya. Who are the most dear to Krishna? From one perspective, Baladev, Balaram, just like in the pastimes of Mahaprabhu, no one is more dear to him than Nityananda Prabhu. And if someone tries to approach him without first giving recognition to Nityananda Prabhu, it's not real, it's not acceptable, it's cancelled. So, so in terms of Guru Tattva, still, well, we'll say this first, that, so, Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, all of those rasas, include Nityananda Prabhu and Baladev, by extension, Nityananda Prabhu, can taken to be the general representation of Guru for all of the rasas preceding Madhura rasa. Then, as we see in certain pastimes, that the presence of Nityananda Prabhu, or Balaram, will put some constraint on the Madhura rasa pastimes. So, Prabhu Priya, the one who is most dear to Krishna, Srimati Radharani, she is the Guru, the Ujjvala Rasa Acharya, the Guru of Madhura Rasa. And just for the sake of being thorough or comprehensive, because we can think, well, don't the others we're these privileged people to hear all these things through Gaudiya Siddhanta. Can it really be that the gods, the goddesses, who we say Brahma, Shiva, they're aspiring for a drop of this? Balaram has to withdraw for certain, to a secluded place for certain pastimes to take place? Don't they have some means of participation? And of course, the answer is yes. So we sometimes hear that, and we think, well, how would Balaram then participate? As Balaram, he's not going to participate. Even Sanatana Goswami, as Guru Maharaj says, when he does perform Rasa Leela, when the gopis felt so much separation, the acharyas point out, this is a different group of gopis, and Sanatana Goswami says, from within his heart, this is his offering to Krishna. That may be inconceivable to us, but not to Sanatana Goswami, the Sambandha Gyana Acharya. So he informs that from within his heart, even the Rasa Leela is seva to Krishna. How inconceivable that there's a plane like that. But we hear as Ananga Manjari, the little sister of Radharani, that he's also has a part to play in those pastimes. So in the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam it says, Janmadyasya yataha, Janmadyasya yatonvayad itaratas cha arteshu abhignya swarat, etc. And it mirrors, echoes the Vedanta Sutra statement, Janmadyasya yataha. But Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur says here, because we can say, what does that mean? That means he's the original source of it. Everything is born from him. He's the original source of everything. Like we have one book called Original Source, right? There's a book called Original Source. You know all about it. So, Janmadyasya yataha. I mean, he's the original source. But what does that mean? It means many things. It wouldn't be a sutra of the Vedanta Sutra if it didn't have infinite levels of meaning. So, in one place, and perhaps in his commentary on this first sloka of Srimad Bhagavatam, he's pointing out that Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur says, Janmad, because there's the word Adi in it, he glosses Adi as meaning Adi Rasa, Mukhya Rasa, means the principle. So he's saying, what this is telling us is that Madhura Rasa, this Mukhya Rasa, original root Rasa, it is, and the implication, Radha and Krishna, and further implied, Parakiya Rasa, is the original source of everything. Everything's springing out of there. So we sometimes say Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhura, Swakya, Parakiya in terms of a progression. But we can also understand it goes Parakiya, Swakya, Vatsalya, Sakya, Dasya, Shanta. Guru Maharaj said Madhura Rasa is the the original. All the others are satellites of Madhura Rasa. Or in another expression, he said clients or satellites. So it is the original. And Srila Guru Maharaj says, in the Bhaja Gauranga, Laha Gauranga, Kaha Gauranga, Laha Gauranga Nam, or Nityananda Prabhu saying, worship Gauranga, take the name of Gauranga, talk about Gauranga. And he was given the instruction, like, Jare Dako Tari Kaho Krishna Upadash, tell everyone about Krishna. Then he goes to Bengal and is telling everyone to worship Gauranga. But Guru Maharaj said, because he knows who is Gauranga. Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna, Nahe Anya. Whereas Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur says, Yata yata Gaura Padara Vinde, Vinde ta Bhaktim Krita Punya Rasi, Tatat Tatot Sarpati Hridya Kasmat, Radha Padamboja Sudamburasi. Focus on the lotus feet of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Gaura Pada, the lotus feet, Gaura Padara Vinde. Vindeta Bhaktim Krita Punya Rasi. Here, Krita Punya Rasi means, Krita Punya means Sumedasa, Sukritivan. Those who have refined theistic intellect, they'll see through all these other proposals and realize herein lies the entrance to Vrindavan, to Krishna Leela, right? Tata Tatot Sarpati Hridya Kasmat, saying by dedicating your focus and serving intent and capacity on the lotus feet of Guru and Gauranga, what will happen? He said, subconsciously, deep from within the core of the heart. He said the heart's deep core, or the deep heart's core. Automatically, Guru said, the Radha Rasa Shuddha Nidhi will begin to flow. That's the name of the work of Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur, his other famous book in praise of Srimati Radharani. But what it means to say is Radha Dasyam, the service of the holy lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. So, Gaudiyas take Nityananda Prabhu as the general representation of Guru, and according to the inner awakenment of the disciple. Guru Maharaj says, according to the inner awakenment of the disciple is how they conceive Guru. And an example of that is given in Srila Saraswati Thakur's concluding remarks on the Chaitanya Charitamritam, where he's saying, when I look deeply at Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, as we're told by Guru Maharaj in other places, that Radharani, like we hear this, he has the Asta Sakis, Asta Nayikas, these 8 different principal friends, and they have particular qualities. Remember, their divine forms are composed of the most intense level of self-giving and dedicating tendency. So it's as if she has expanded into these forms. Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitabis Tabirja Eva Nija Rupataya Kalavi Goloka Eva Nivasatya Kilatma Bhuto Govinda Mari Purusham Tambahamvajam. As Krishna expands predominated moiety, Radharani expands predominated moiety. And Srila Saraswati Thakur has also indicated, jivas in Madhura Rasa have emanated from the Anga Jyoti, Radha's Anga Jyoti, her own divine effulgence. When we talk of Brahma Jyoti, that's a general term. What term? Radha's Anga Jyoti, Subal has an Anga Jyoti, Yashoda has an Anga Jyoti, that is comprised of those with that particular serving potential and serving capacity. But that world, it is the world of gurus, Guru Maharaj reminds us, where we aspire to. It is the world of gurus, where the soil is your guru, and Vaikuntir Pritivyadi Sakala Chinmoy. It's all Chinmoy. So Srila Guru Maharaj, following this line of thinking, says, then how can you walk there? How can you take one step in the world of gurus? It would be aparad, offense, to take one step there. Only out of a necessity of service, not out of curiosity, but out of service. Right? Like the pujari sometimes has to step on the altar steps to put the crown on the deity. And we know in Puri, when Mahaprabhu would go to see Jagannath, one time he goes for Jagannath darshan. And we know Mahaprabhu's devotional, the magnitude of his devotional intensity is such as they have to keep him far away. If he gets too close, he loses his composure. So that's why he's by the Garuda Stamba and keeping his distance. And there are certain when he walks, and that's even given there, who is in the front, who's on his left, who's on the right. All these devotees have assigned positions. But anyway, so we know one time he's there by the Garuda Stamba and viewing, the Shama Goparup, that when he sees Jagannath, he's seeing Krishna. Right? And one lady who's overwhelmed, and she comes running and climbs on the back of Mahaprabhu. He's 7'6" tall. So by climbing on him, she can get a good view. So there's a woman who's climbed on to Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu's attendant pulls her down, and he's going to chastise her. And Mahaprabhu says, "Oh, I wish I had that type of eagerness that she has. What she's got, I want a drop of that." Right? So out of that pure devotional flow, she's climbing on the back of Mahaprabhu. Right? So how can you enter the guru world, the world of guru, where the soil is guru? And by that means that soil has your self-interest at heart more than we do, and is taking one in the direction of the service of the lotus feet of Krishna. By extension, really, Radha Dasyam. All service is being transacted by Srimati Radharani. Once, when Srila Saraswati Thakur was speaking on what Guru Maharaj said, some high subject matters, in the midst of that talk, some devotee came in and asked him a question, interrupted the talk and asked him a question about some mat necessities. And Saraswati Thakur dealt with that, and then Guru Maharaj said, I was thinking, Prabhupada was saying something so high and wonderful. Why are they disturbing him with these trivial matters? And then the explanation came that Radharani is the major domo of seva to Krishna. And major domo means, it's like a Latin, Spanish term for the woman who's the head of the house. Domo means house. In Russian it means like house too. I like domo, dedo or something. I'm now going to give everyone Russian lessons. But so major, so means she's in charge of the house. She's the mistress of the house. So Guru Maharaj's point, for Radharani, everything, there's not something she considers beneath her dignity. There's not some seva to Krishna that she considers less than worthy of her. That was the point. So Saraswati Thakur said, happily, I want to do this seva. Just Srila Gurudev personified that. Any seva, if it was clear to him that it was service to the lotus feet of Srila Guru Maharaj, happily he's taking on that. Does not consider it a burden. They have that expression, labor of love. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says in one of his songs, whatever labor, whatever effort, whatever inconvenience, whatever suffering might come on account of, in connection with service to Krishna, that's my happiness. When Gopal appeared to Madhavendra Puri and told him, you go, and he's very old, and he's in Govardhan, you go, he has to walk all the way across India to go get this sandalwood pulp and karpur, camphor. Madhavendra Puri is ecstatic. Oh, I have some seva from Gopal. So Saraswati Thakur would sometimes say, all of the mat seva is my responsibility. All of it. I should be doing all of it. But my Gurudev is so kind, his Vaibhav extension in the form of so many disciples have come to assist me in all these varieties of seva and service. So it's all about service, really. And service up to a particular point and service beyond that point. But again, according to the inner awakenment of the disciples. So Saraswati Thakur said, because we're told, if you look in Guru, then you can a deep examination, susamiksha, one can see the astanayika, the different qualities of the different gopis manifesting in different ways. And we're talking about genuine, high-level, deep-level spiritual vision. But taking it further to the original source of all of them now, which means Srimati Radharani herself. So Saraswati Thakur said, when I look deeply to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, I see Radharani. And Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj, Lalita Saki. And I see Gadadhar Pandit and Swarup Damodar. So he once wrote an article, this Radha Badha Baba, where a family member of his, brother of his, although he was inclined to culture Krishna consciousness, his predominant view of Bhaktivinoda Thakur was as his father. So Saraswati Thakur wrote this article in which he said, whom he should have seen as Radha, he's seeing as Baba, father. So that Saraswati Thakur, again, back to his level of depth of vision, who would be seen superficially as father, his depth of vision was such to see Radha. Now, these are very high things and very wonderful things, but they're there. Kintu Prabhoya Priya Evatasya. Prabhu Priya. And it's really the heart of the Krishna consciousness movement. Near our mat in Seva Kunj, which is near the Radha Damodar temple, and every temple there not everyone, most, they have some special story about the deity, how the deity came, and many of the older deities especially. Radha Raman, we know some special story, and we just written a Shringa Chaturdashi. Sometimes they'll take Gopal Bhatta on that day. He went with his telegrams, he was saying, oh, out of the love of Prahlad, he appeared out of stone. He's thinking like that, how exalted is it. Devotees, Rupa Goswami says, they're always appreciating the devotion of other devotees. That's one of their symptoms. As Guru Maharaj said, the Madhyamadikari, they hear someone is going down, that gives a pain to their heart. If they hear someone is becoming developed in devotional tendencies, it's a cause of self. They're happy. Not the schadenfreude of the world where someone is, Bhaktivinoda deals with this in Amar Jivana. When other people are happy, that makes me miserable. And when they're suffering, then I feel pretty good. This is our situation. The opposite of that, Gopal says, oh, Prahlad is so great. By the love in his heart, his love and affection, the Lord appeared to him out of the stone pillar. And that night in his dream, Lord, Gopal, Gopal Bhatta. And he gets some indication. He goes and sees his shelagram, and he had a particular number. It's -1, and there's Radha Raman. So they have some pastime, some lila. So I saw a big banner in the street once. They're advertising for the temple around the corner, Radha Shama Sundar, and it said, the only deity to manifest directly from the heart of Srimati Radharani. So, how can you top that? So just let that be as it is. So, but we can say that principle, that really Krishna consciousness, Anyara Hridayaman Moraman Brindavan. Radharani is saying, normally people, their heart and their mind are the same. My heart and Vrindavan are the same. My mind and Vrindavan are the same. It is a way of indirectly saying, it is a construct of her heart, of her service, of her way, of unique way of serving Krishna. So according to the inner awakenment of the disciple is how they will see Guru. Guru Maharaj deals with this in Sri Guru and His Grace, and cautioning us against being overly emphasizing the form of the Guru. Like we hear Vani and Vapu. Vani, instructions, Vapu, the form. And Guru Maharaj says, even as a side point, even Vani can turn into a type of Vapu if it becomes lifeless, mindless parroting of instructions. But that said, he's saying, like we see, there's picture, the Guru when he's a young man, the Guru in middle age, the Guru in old age. Which form is it? That form before us of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, so, the beard, and I told on his veranda in Calcutta, Gurudev said, and to think, he's a 14-year-old girl in Vrindavan. So how will you recognize Bhaktivinoda Thakur? How will you recognize Guru Maharaj, Gurudev, Saraswati Thakur, Srila Swami Maharaj? Not by the picture that you saw here. Doesn't mean to deprecate the picture, but that is, we worship the picture, the form of the Guru. But in that plane, they will be recognized by devotional tendency. Guru Maharaj says, they're in Gaura Lila, they're playing hide and seek. So when they come into this world, they don't know who is who. By the influence of Yoga Maya, they're meeting one another. So that Nityananda Prabhu, he's saying, is this that Krishna? When I was Balaram, this is that, I've never seen Krishna look like this. When he meets him as Nimai Pandit. And Mukunda begins this, and Mahaprabhu gives some indication to Mukunda. Because Nityananda Prabhu is stunned by the beauty of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. It's indicated by Rupa Goswami, Guru Maharaj, Rupa Goswami as well. Koti Kami Murchi Tangri Rupa Rasa Rangaram. Right? Svarna Koti Darpanaba Deho Varna Gauravam. So he's saying, is this that Krishna? And Nimai Pandit tells Mukunda to begin singing. He's singing. Barhapidam natabara bapukarneo karnikaram Bibrad basa kanaka kapisam vaijayantim chamalam Run run vain urdhaya sudhaya purayan gopa vrinde Vrindaranyan sapara ramanam pravishad gita kirti. This sloka, it's about Krishna and Balaram and the cowherd boys, but who is expressing it is noteworthy. It's being expressed by Radharani and Brajagopis. They're on their verandas, their balcony, they're seeing. It's the time for Krishna, Balaram and the cowherd boys to herd their cows into the forest for a day of cowherding. They're saying, Barha pidam natabara bapu, and Krishna with the peacock feather, looking like a movie star, is moving, the flowers behind his ear, the flower garlands around his neck, his beautiful garments. Playing the flute, and streams of the nectar are coming out of Krishna's lips and entering the flute and then showering the atmosphere with a nectarine shower of sound that we hear sometimes is all the notes, but as I told, not just like pressing all the notes at one time. He's playing all the notes of the scale at one time, but in some bewildering, peculiarly fascinating, enchanting way. Brindaranyam swapada ramanam pravishad gita kirti. And it says swapada ramanam. And so that we are not left with stereotypes. It says the touch of his lotus feet upon the earth, because we just told, Radharani, Guru of Madhura Rasa, Baladev, all the rasas up to that. But here, so we'll think, well, the earth is generally taken to be in Shanta Rasa. But earth, rivers, etc. But here it says, Swapada Ramanam. At the touch of Krishna's lotus feet, he's playing the flute, dancing, and entering the forest with the cowherd boys. She's shivering in conjugal ecstasy. So anything is possible in that world where the impossible becomes possible. Achintya Shakti. But Nityananda Prabhu, hearing this sloka, it reminds him of Krishna and the other cowherd boys, and he faints in ecstasy. And as we told in the beginning, normally he's the throne, he's the couch, he's the bed, Sheshai, upon whom Vishnu lies. He's the couch for Krishna. Right? Here, when he awakes, he's in the lap of Nimai Pandit. And when his eyes open, he's seen the beautiful face of Nimai Pandit. And Guru Maharaj, it's mentioned in Chaitanya Bhagavat that the servitor here was defeated. Normally, we're saying that's not the hallmark of devotion. It's where the servitor defeats the Lord. Here, it's a unique instant where now Nimai Pandit's serving him, with him on his lap. So it's some wonderful concept. With Guru, like we told that story the other day, Guru Byorpita, whatever, Achinnam Nayanam Bubandhu Shubhitam, that sloka. The Guru Varga in Vrindavan is Nanda, Yashoda, the elders. That's also a type of Guru conception. But we're told, if any of this makes an impression, Tasmad Gurum Prapadyeta Jigyasu Shreya Uttamam. Shabde pare chanishnaktang brahmanupasamashrayam. Then gurum prapadyeta, then acquire a guru. Jigyasu shre uta, and inquire about what's ultimately beneficial for you. Who is that person? Shabde pare chanishna. They have firm faith and representation of Shabda Brahman, of spiritual sound, of the scriptures, right? Or the passive representation of spiritual substance and sound. Brahmanupasamashrayam. They're completely sheltered in a spiritual conception. So from the beginning to the highest to the beginning. Any other question? Yes.
You were talking several times about Maya. Once, if I'm not mistaken, you called it a guardian. The other time you saw it as Vishachira, like witch. And what is the real function? And if it tests the people under the order of Krishna, to what extent it happens?
Yes. Well, you may be referring to when I said there's Maya, Mahamaya, and Yoga Maya. So I think you're mainly referring to Mahamaya, who's, we're told she's ashamed sometimes to come before Krishna because she has this task of deluding the jivas. But that is our choice. Reign in heaven, reign in hell, serve in heaven. So for those who opt to reign in hell, which is a deluded position for the eternal servitor of Krishna, then they need to forget their servitor identity and voyeuristically envision themselves as lords, masters. Right? So there's an interesting verse in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. It says, Devi hi esha gunamai mama maya dharataya mam evaye prapadyante maya me tam tarantite. So Krishna says, that Maya who's deluding you, who's like impossible to overcome, mama maya, she works for me. So on your own, you'll never be able to overcome her, to defeat her. She has some infinite backing. Right? Sometimes Prabhupada would say, we should always remember that, we are very small and Maya is very great. And he was cautioning us against becoming arrogant and how counterproductive that would be in a spiritual life. Saying, Maya is great. She's working for Krishna. This is her service to Krishna. Shiva also complains of his service. Maya varam asachchastam prachtanam bodham uchite mayeva kapitam devi kalo brahmana rupina. In the Kali Yuga, I take the form of a Brahman, and I preach Mayavad. And Guru Maharaj says in one place, he said to Krishna, why do I have to do this? Make people inimical to you, or forgetful of you, or to deny your personality. But it's to facilitate the free will of the jivas and all the spectral range of its expression. So, but in this sloka, it says, Devi yesha gunamai mama maya dharataya. So what is the solution? Mamevaye prapadyante. If you surrender to me, maya mitam tarantite, then you can cross beyond the influence of Maya. And only that way. I can withdraw her influence over you, Karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhajam. It's told in the Brahma Samhita. When someone comes in connection with Guru, Gauranga, Radha Govinda, they're no longer under the normal laws of karma. They come under a different jurisdiction. Right? Because they're leaving the out-carrying current that's going away from the central conception of the Absolute and entering the in-carrying current, which is going towards the central conception of the Absolute and the service. So, but Maya is there to draw a contrast between the mundane and the spiritual, the formal and the substantial, fictitious and real devotion, many things. So it's necessary, just like the, in a class, sometimes the teacher puts a wrong example and sees if the students can detect it. That's also a type of learning. Right? So we hear in the Brihad Bhagavatamritam that Gopakumar, when he's gone through from the middle planetary systems to all the upper planetary systems, then the 8 layers of the universe, he's just about to leave the whole material world. Next will be Viroja, and then Brahmaloka, the lower outskirts of the spiritual world, and then Vaikuntha world proper. On his way out, we're told that Maya comes before him in an inconceivably beautiful and charming form, saying like, "Where are you going?" And he's saying, I'm finished with this world of misconception, full of so much suffering, delusion. And she's saying, well, that was when you were my slave. That's when you were the slave of Maya, the slave of your senses, your uncontrolled mind, polluted intellect, and Everest-sized ego. But I have a new proposal. You'll be Shiva and I'll be your consort. You'll be the Lord, my Lord and Master, and I'll be your servitor. And Guru Maharaj said, that's when the last sweet bullet enters the brain, that proposal. That you can take the position of Shiva and I'll be your consort. Or, according to their inner awakenment and devotional tendency, they cross beyond that test. So she's there to delude, to test, to falsify. She's also the warden of the, this is like a jail, a prison. Durga Devi is described as the superintendent of the prison house. So and on that point, there's some instances where by pleasing the superintendent, one can get release. That's an esoteric point. But, so, Maya, it says Mriyate, what is it? Mriyate, Anbayat, that which is not. So, it's always, if we take it indirectly, as in that first line of the sloka, Janmadyasya yataha yaton bayat itaratas cha arteshu, says everything directly and indirectly. So, in this sense, Maya is an indirect impetus to move in the direction of Krishna conception. By deluding the jivas, forcing them to suffer in so many ways. And the Jaiva Dharma, Bhakti Vinod Thakur deals with the question where how can this be thought of in a good way or in a progressive way? And he says, just as when you we could say, the fire of suffering, the samsara davanala loka tranaya, that, the burning fire of material existence. So just as when you take gold, if you put fire to it, it releases the impurities, then they're wiped away and the remainder is pure gold. He's saying, so the suffering inflicted by Maya upon the living entities in this world inevitably brings the jivas, relieves them of their impurities and brings them to the golden stage. And I've mentioned, I lived in San Francisco next to a firehouse once, where the fire chief lived. And so it's a very beautiful firehouse, and outside they had a brass plaque that they kept very shiny, and it had these poetic lines written on it, and it said, "By fire shall hearts be proven, lest virtue's gold grow dim." And of course, they're firemen, but the point is well taken. They're saying, by fire will the heart be proven. So for those jivas who are deluded, that means this world, everyone in it, the fire of material existence comes as an indirect impetus to move toward Krishna conception. And the more that is perceived and realized, the more progress the devotee will make. There's a famous sloka, say, Bhavam buddhir vatsa param padam padadya vipadam natesham. Saying, when you come in connection with Krishna consciousness substantial, that the whole world of illusion, that mayame tam tarantite, you'll cross over it as if it was the water left in the imprint of the hoof of a calf. So what was oceanic, kaler doshini de rajan, what was oceanic in magnitude and proportion, the ocean of nescience. Right? We're told that ocean will be like a drop. What does that mean but a change of perspective, sambandhagyan, reconceptualization, being reconfigured to realize I won't find satisfaction, fulfillment, and identity as an exploiter, but rather as a dedicating unit. When this transformation takes place, that ocean, insurmountable ocean of nescience, is reduced to the water left in the imprint of the hoof of the calf. As if that wasn't enough, Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur makes an interesting observation. He says that devotees in the devotional school, Govinda, we worship the cows. Right? So if it's the water from the hoof print of the calf, then that's something good. It's like sanctified. So he says that another reading of this verse, there are infinite levels of interpretation. Another way of reading it is that all those things that are undesirable in this world, they become, for a devotee who's engaged in seva, like puja ragapat gaurava bhange, something sacred to them. What we told before, Saraswati Thakur said, I relish doing these things. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, I relish whatever inconvenience might come to me. If it's in seva, then everything becomes transformed. So all the so-called mayic existence, for the servitor, it turns into something completely different. Everything is then seen as an opportunity for dedication, for seva, for Krishna consciousness. There's a sloka that says, just as the businessman sees everything as an opportunity for business, right? Or someone who's lusty sees everything as a potential fulfillment of their lust. For a devotee, then the whole world becomes inverted, and they see all serving potential. So then it goes from Mahamaya to Yogamaya. Yogamaya is also a kind of illusion. Mahamaya illusion, Yogamaya illusion. But one taking us toward the absolute center and one taking us away. But Maya's serving indirectly. Because in that sense, for want of the sufferings of material existence, there's a lack of impetus to take spiritual life seriously. It's in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Chatur Vidha Bhajante Mam Jana Sukritino Arjuna, where Krishna says, 4 types of people take spiritual life seriously. Right? The distressed, those in economic distress, those are just stressed. Right? The jigyasu, inquisitive, the jnanis, the people who are really trying to mine spiritual knowledge, they'll be inclined towards this. But so there needs to be some impetus. So in that way, Maya is serving Krishna and serving us by giving us impetus to approach the lotus feet of Guru and Gauranga, take shelter of Sadhu Shastra, Guru Vaishnava. Hare Krishna.